Hello moms! I'm so glad to see you. Welcome to Mom Online. It's October 2020 and I just want to say welcome, and you did it. Congratulations, you made it through another month. Day by day, it might not have looked pretty, but that's life, right? And it's really the heartbeat of Mom to walk alongside you through those messy times, to celebrate and rejoice with you through the great times and everywhere in between. And so I just want to welcome you. My name's Megan Miranda. I'm the Women's Ministry Director here at ABC and also part of the Mom leadership team. And you're in for a treat today. You're going to get to hear from two women of ABC, of Mom, who are going to share their story with you. They're going to share truth from God's Word with you. And I hope you're excited about that. First of all, we have a segment here at Mom that many of you know and love called Peer Perspective. And so this is just really a time for one of you, your peers, to share what God has done in your life, a bit of your story, and kind of how that looks like in the day-to-day. And so you're going to get to hear from Sarah Shorba today. She is one of our peer moms, and we are just really honored and blessed to have her share with us. So I invite you to welcome her in just a minute as she shares. And then you're also going to get to hear from Gail Farrell. Gail is one of our mentor moms here and also on the Mom leadership team. And she's going to bring us some truth. So our goal here at Mom also is to help us become sober-minded, to help us really take hold of the calling that God has placed in our life, this call of motherhood. And so Gail is going to give us a charge for that as we are in the hood, right? This hood of motherhood, and really what that looks like, what that calling looks like, and just some encouragement that we so desperately need, I know, especially in this season. So I love you all, and I hope that you have a wonderful month and enjoy some discussion time with your groups if you're involved in a small group. And please reach out if you have any questions, email me, and I look forward to seeing you when I see you. Bye, moms.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Shorba, and I'm really excited to be able to share my story with you today. I've been able to look back at it as I've gotten ready for this, and it's been a really big blessing for me to be able to stop and reflect on where I've come from, and it's given me a lot of gratitude for where God's brought me today. He reminded me of this verse as I was writing, and I want to share it with you. It's Zephaniah 3:17. For the Lord your God is living among you. He is a mighty Savior. He will take delight in you with gladness. With his love, he will calm all your fears. He will rejoice over you with joyful songs. So I came from a blended family. I have 5 brothers, and 2 of them are older half brothers that did not live in the home growing up. So I just had one brother growing up in my home. And my parents loved me as best as they could, but they had a lot of stuff that they were dealing with growing up as well. My family felt very chaotic growing up, and it was fractured. And so from an early age, I started seeing the world as unsafe, and I thought people were not people couldn't be trusted. And so that was kind of my narrative that I grew up with, but God also revealed himself to me at a pretty early age. The first time I remember was a night that my brother and my mom were fighting, and I was really scared, and my neighbor came over because she heard the yelling and the screaming, and she invited me to go back over to her house, and she had kids that were about the same age as me, and she was reading them from her Bible right before putting them to bed. And so she invited me to just sit on their bed with them, and I just listened to her read from one of the Gospels, and I just remember feeling a big sense of peace in that. And so God used her in my childhood to just really start reaching out to me and getting me to know a little bit about who he was. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and my mom became really depressed and was then emotionally unavailable to me. And my brother also got really angry and kind of just withdrew and started playing a lot of video games. And so he stopped really being a sibling that I felt like I connected with, and became a sibling that I ended up being really scared of. He got very aggressive with me. And my dad had 50% custody of my brother and I, but he moved into a small apartment, so he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for the first little bit, and I slept on a cot in his living room with my brother in the living room, and eventually he moved into a 2-bedroom, and the 2nd bedroom was his office, so my brother and I shared a bunk bed in the corner of that room, and I was there about half the time, but I had to pack a bag every time that I went, and so it never felt like my home. It felt like I was always a visitor, and I grew up kind of feeling like my dad didn't really want me there, that I didn't really have my own space and it wasn't my home. I started going to youth group in middle school and accepted Jesus into my heart then, after hearing the gospel, and I started to get to know more of what was in God's word as we did a little bit of Bible studying, and I went on Sundays and to the youth groups, and so I started to get to know some friends really well in there, but my family was really unsupportive of me going to church. My brother argued against my faith almost any chance that he had anytime that I brought it up, and my dad was really concerned about me being a part of church and talked to me about his concerns, and so I had some confusion from my family, and my mom was the most supportive, but she doesn't consider herself Christian, and so I had 2 different messages kind of being spoken to me. When I got to high school, there was still just so much chaos going on at home, and so it was kind of hard for me to reconcile being at church and just everything that was happening at home. And I was also really looking for a lot of acceptance from friendships, and found in high school that it just became easier to feel accepted by my non-Christian friends. I started hanging out with them more and more, and I started making some really bad decisions. I started drinking and smoking pot at 15 and stopped going to church completely and stopped hanging out with all of my Christian friends and just started hanging out with my friends that I drink with. And my junior year, I was able to drive, and my mom started dating, and so she was at home a lot less, and my brother was still feeling unsafe for me to be around, and so I decided to move to my dad's house and live primarily there. I was still at my mom's because she lived really close to the high school I went to, but things started getting really dark for me that year. I threw a party at my dad's house one weekend, and my best friend's boyfriend molested me that night. And when I told her what happened, she stopped talking to me and continued dating the guy. So I lost that group of friends because I wasn't comfortable hanging out around him anymore. And I did get to know some other friends through coworkers or something, and not very well. And I threw another party at my dad's house. And because I didn't know them very well, that party got a little bit more rowdy, and my dad found out from neighbors and he kicked me out. And so I showed up one day on my way to work to pick up my stuff and came to the front door, and my stuff was all out on the front porch, and I put my key in the lock and it didn't work. So my dad just changed the locks on me and put my stuff outside without talking to me about it ahead of time. So I went to work and I got off and I had no idea where to go. I just felt so alone and abandoned and like nobody cared. And I felt unwanted. So I went back to my mom's house because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and she wasn't home. So my brother was there, and he was on his computer, and I told him my dad just kicked me out, and he didn't seem to really care. And my bed was actually in the living room because my mom moved it out so she could paint my room because I had moved out. So I didn't feel like I even had a room to go back to at my mom's house. So I literally felt like nobody cared about me or cared about where I was gonna be. And I ended up trying to end my life that night. And my brother found me and called my mom, and they took me to the hospital. And I got hospitalized for about 2 weeks and got put on antidepressants or got my antidepressants changed. I think I had been on them for a while already. And I, around that time, also tested out of high school. So when I got out of the hospital, I went back to my mom's because my dad still didn't want me living there. And I just felt very unsafe. And my mom was spending a lot of the time at her boyfriend's because they were engaged. And she ended up getting married a few months later. And my 2 stepbrothers moved in, and my stepdad, and they were 5 and 7 years younger than me. And so it just felt even more like I don't want to be at this house. There's now 3 boys and me and my stepdad, and I don't know them very well, and I just didn't want to be there. So I ended up moving out a couple months after my mom got married, and I was 17, and I started dating a guy that I worked with, and we ended up moving in together a few months after we started dating. And I just smoked a ton of pot that year, trying to numb the pain that I felt that I was in. And we lasted for about a year, and when I broke up with him, I knew that I needed to make some better choices and needed to change the direction of my life. I did not want to just keep going down this path. So I moved to SLO, and I was almost 19. And I thought that maybe going back to church might be a good place to start. And I started going to Cuesta College. And the first day that I go there, there's this girl standing at the edge of the parking lot. And she seems like she's just waiting for somebody to show up. And as I walk towards her, she approaches me and starts talking to me. And she says, "Hey, has anybody ever told you how much Jesus loves you?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, he does, and he wants you to know that today." And looking back, I feel like it was God basically just saying like, "Hey, remember me?" So she invited me to church, and I started going back to church. And God really started healing me at that point. He started putting his word in my heart and started showing me his truths. But it was hard for me to go from a place where I felt like nobody cared about me to believing that God loved me and cared about me, and that we were all just supposed to love each other. And it just felt really hard, and I still had a lot of doubts. But God just was so patient with me and continued to just love me with the friends that were around me. And a few years after going back to church, I met my husband, Tristan, and we got married about a year after we started dating. And I was in a much better place at that point, but I still had so much fear. And I was terrified that he would leave me like my dad had left my mom. And so getting married to him was hard for me. I really wanted to be loved. I really wanted to feel safe and secure. And I think looking back, there was a big part of me that thought that having a husband would do that for me. But I think I stopped clinging to God for those things when I had a husband, and started expecting Tristan to be my security and to fill me and to make me feel safe. And I never really shared my story with my friends because I had too much shame behind it. And so they didn't really understand why I was so scared about being married, and they didn't know how to help me. And I just started getting angry and frustrated, and Tristan and I ended up walking away from church after being married for about a year or two. And our marriage just got really bumpy, and we fought a lot. And we were not going to church for about 5 years. But after we had our first daughter, we knew that we needed to get our act together and make some changes. And we started thinking about going back to church, and I just knew that I did not want to be the parents that fought like my parents had. And so for the sake of our daughter, we started coming back to ABC, and I still had so many fears about friendship and about just sharing my story and letting people get to know me, but I decided that I wanted to try. So over the last few years, God has really just calmed so many of my fears, and he showed me that my mistrust was not just in people, but also towards him, but that trusting God was not a feeling, it's a choice. And he's shown me that I can choose to trust, and I can choose to believe in his word and what he has shown me. And he has given me so much freedom in that. As I've leaned into him, he has calmed my fears, not just about marriage, but about friendships and just parenting and just my health. And he has just really given me so much freedom that I never thought was even possible. And growth is not a straight line. I feel like sometimes I take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and I still get triggered and I still have fears, but God is faithful and patient, and he continues to fight for me. And I'm so thankful that he has made a way for me to be able to understand what trusting God means. And he's also shown me that even though people failed me in my life, that God never does. And he never left me. He protected me in my darkest days and gave me life that I never thought possible. My husband and I have been married now for 12 years, and we have 3 daughters who are 6, 4, and almost 2. And God is with me today like he has been my whole life. He's my strength and my shield, and my heart trusts in him. And I think that when things get hard, that's when we need to turn to God the most, not run in fear, but to choose faith. So I had to learn that the hard way, but I'm thankful today that I can look back on my story and see God's faithfulness and healing in my life. So I will leave you again with Zephaniah 3:17. For the Lord your God is living among you. He is a mighty Savior. He will take delight in you with gladness. With his love, he will calm all your fears. He will rejoice over you with joyful songs. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope that it was encouraging.
Well, hello, ladies, and welcome to Mom in October. Can you believe it? It's October already. Man, it's been a crazy year. In some ways, it seems like it has taken forever. It's absolutely been dragging by, but on the other hand, it's already October. That's crazy. Do you know, some of us, if we had our choice, we would just ask for a do-over for 2020. As a matter of fact, I think most all of us would ask for that. It's been one challenging year, hasn't it? So full of obstacles, full of so much uncertainty. And who of us likes uncertainty? In fact, most women say that one of their greatest needs is a sense of security, which means that they really don't like change all that much. Now, I know there's some exceptions. I have a really close girlfriend, Christy Barefoot, and she thrives on change. There's a few of us out there like that, but most of us like security, and that typically means not a lot of change. And boy, we have just not had that this year, have we? It has been one crazy year, one crazy season. And our sense of security and safety has really been rocked. I heard a really good quote, and it said, 2020, just pull over and let me out. I'll walk. Thank you very much. Don't you feel that way? Gosh, just let me do this again and in a different way. Ladies, being a mom has always been hard, but this year, I don't need to tell you, it's way harder than ever. Being a mom is messy. There is so much to it. I know I had no clue of what I was getting myself into. I had always wanted to be a mom, but I just didn't know all that was involved. I had no idea of the long hours, low pay, high stress, no vacation time, no sick leave, no matching stock options, no benefits, only on-the-job training, and that I would be expected to be a top-notch cook, house cleaner, chauffeur, cheerleader, life coach, counselor, security blanket, nurse, engineer, event coordinator, air traffic controller, CFO, CEO, and then on top of all that, in most cases, a wife and a lover as well. Yeah, right. Who can possibly do all of those things? Being a mom, there is just so much that goes along with it, and we carry such a weight of responsibility. That's one thing. I have seen ladies who have nannied for people before they've had children, and they have just been like so in control, and you tend to think, oh my goodness, she is just, it's going to be a piece of cake for her when she has kids. I mean, she has so much experience. And then I've seen that very person flounder when it was their own child. And what the difference is that weight of responsibility. It can be overwhelming. It's like a suffocating pressure upon us at times. And it just magnifies and intensifies all the different elements of mothering, doesn't it? gosh, in addition to that weight of responsibility, we often have unrealistic expectations. We're often inadequately equipped. Then there's extreme fatigue. There's isolation, which, can I just say, is Satan's plan for us. He wants to isolate us. There's lack of appreciation, lack of adult interaction. It can be monotonous. You do the same menial, repetitious tasks over and over. Sometimes it's boring. There's just boredom. I mean, how many times can you sit and play Candyland or Chutes and Ladders? And it's just the same thing over and over. There's failure, right? I mean, every day we fail all the time. No one likes to fail. And then, of course, there's the never-ending mom guilt. No matter what we do, it's never enough. It's never quite right. We're just never quite good enough. Oh my goodness. Motherhood is overwhelming, ladies, and motherhood in 2020 is even harder. So I'm just going to ask you to give yourself permission to acknowledge. This is tough. Sometimes acknowledgement is the first step towards healing and towards coping. Ladies, we all need to regroup to be able to continue to face the challenges that are going to continue to lie ahead of us. None of us had any idea back in March how long coronavirus and all of its impacts and effects were going to take. That's still unclear to us. That's still another piece of uncertainty. It's going to be the whole school year. It's going to be just the first few months, but then there's cold and flu season and on it goes. So regroup, and let me encourage you to do that in healthy ways. So do fill your well. Ladies, we are giving out in this season of motherhood like never before. So it's important that we fill our wells. Now that could be a whole lesson in and of itself, but let me just say, figure out what fills your well, what revives your soul. And as long as it's something positive, try your best to work it in to your routine, to the course of a day or a week. Ask your husband to allow you, if possible, to get in some exercise or to take a walk. And if your husband doesn't have the opportunity or isn't willing to do that, then ask a family member or a friend. You might need to, if you have no family in the area, you might need to form a little pod, your little safety group, people that it's okay for you to be around, and then lean into them. That might be someone at your mom-to-mom table. Perhaps you'll make a new friend, or your mentor mom or peer mom. If you're all alone and struggling, let your mentor and peer mom know so that they can come alongside you. But ladies, we've got to fill our well. So lock yourself in your closet if you need to during nap time. Read, like I said, perhaps exercise, meditate, pray. And side note, we do need the Lord in this season. And so it's one more thing to add to your plate, but it's going to be one of the most valuable things. Try to make a little time for the Lord, 5 or 10 minutes a day. If it means getting up just a few minutes early or taking some time out of nap time rather than cleaning and folding laundry and scurrying around doing all the things that's the only possible time to get done, spend a few minutes with the Lord. Because ladies, we're just not going to do this in a healthy way if we try to do it on our own and without Him. I'll touch on that a little bit later. Like I said, reach out to others. Let your table group for mom to mom become your community. So those are some healthy ways to regroup and to face the rest of this school year and the rest of this calendar year. Can I say there are some unhealthy things that you should not do? Don't isolate. That causes discouragement. It causes us to focus on our failures. It causes us to feel all alone. Again, reach out to your table group. That's a huge part of what Mom to Mom is all about, is developing friendships and community. Don't turn to compulsive habits or behaviors. Social media, ladies, you may need to unplug. or have a very limited time in the day that you allow yourself to be on your phone. Okay, that wastes valuable time, and time is a huge commodity, especially if you have school-age children. So social media, don't turn to food, don't turn to shopping, alcohol, sleeping pills. There's so many unhealthy coping mechanisms that you really need to stay away from. And then I just want to encourage you, try not to spin your wheels using up valuable energy and emotional bandwidth on the thinking of, if only my kids had been able to go to school this year. If only I could go to the park. I mean, for goodness sakes, for some of you stay-at-home moms of infants and toddlers, the park was our go-to. That was something you could count on when you were going crazy in the house, and now you can't even hardly go to a park. But focusing on that, spending energy and time wishing for what was, ladies, that's backwards energy. That's not going to help you. Use your energy and your full capacity to move yourself forward. Your family needs you in this season. You know, the book of Proverbs begins and ends talking about moms. Kind of interesting. Proverbs is known as the book of wisdom. King Solomon, the wisest man ever, authored most of it. And in Proverbs 1:8, he began by saying, "Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching." That's the first book of Proverbs. And then the very last book of Proverbs is Proverbs 31. It's a chapter that a lot of women greatly dislike because they feel like it sets such an incredibly high standard that no one could ever attain to. I think a lot of people feel like it was written, a lot of women feel that it was written by a man, kind of like his dream list, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to attain to all of this. But in fact, it was written to King Lemuel by his mother. So it's one chapter that's not written by Solomon. And basically, she was telling Solomon what to look for in a woman. And ladies, that is one of our jobs as a mom, is to prepare our kids and to be talking to them about future spouses and praying for that. So she's basically just telling them what to look for, what makes a good wife, a good mother. In verse 10 of Proverbs 31, it says, "An excellent wife," but we can broaden that to say woman, and that would include wife and mother. "An excellent woman who can find, for her worth is far above jewels." Ladies, did you know that the literal meaning of excellent wife is a woman of valor? We are called to be women of valor, to be brave and courageous. Ladies, part of facing and dealing with and coping with motherhood in 2020 is recognizing that we're in a battle. We're in a battle for our homes. We're in a battle for our kids. So see yourself as a warrior. It's warriors who are in battle. Warriors face what is before them without shrinking away. Face what is before you without shrinking away. And there are so many verses that have to do with being a warrior. Judges 6:12, "The Lord is with you, O valiant warrior." Deuteronomy 1:30, "The Lord fights on your behalf." So we're a warrior, but he fights with us and for us. Zephaniah 3:17, "The Lord is in our midst, our victorious warrior." Again, we don't have to do it alone. Joshua 1:8, "Be strong and courageous. Do not fear, for the Lord is with you." And Isaiah 42:13, "The Lord goes forth as a warrior. He will prevail." So yes, ladies, be a warrior for your family in this season, but know that the Lord is the one fighting with you and for you. You know, in preparing for this talk, I learned something new. At one time or another, I know I've read the book of Ezekiel because I've done the read through the Bible in a year a couple of different times, but often a lot of the Old Testament, to be honest, just doesn't stick with me when I am doing that. But in Ezekiel 19, a mother is likened to two different things, and they're actually pretty much extreme opposites, I think. In verse 2 of chapter 19, a mother is likened to being a lion. Ladies, a lion has long been known to be a symbol of strength, power, and ferocity. Are you a ferocious lion for your family? Are you fighting for your family in this season? So I did a little research on lions and I found some really interesting fun facts about lions. So here we go. A lion's roar can be heard from 5 miles away. You know what that tells me? Don't mess with mama. I mean, we tend to think of the saying, a mama bear, but boy, a mama lion, 5 miles away, that roar can be heard. That's something you don't want to mess with. Ladies, be protective of your families and your time and whatever that might mean. Be protective too of your kids' emotional well-being by fighting to not allow them to be dictated by fear. Fight to not instill fear in your children. Fight to teach them faith over fear. Another fun fact about lions are the most social of all the big cats. They live in communities, they live in groups called prides. Ladies, lions figured it out, that it takes a village. Okay, that wasn't Hillary Clinton who coined that saying. It was the lion way back. The lion's the king of the jungle, but as king or queen of the jungle, she recognizes that she needs people. She lives in community. So ladies, do that again. Like I said earlier, don't isolate. Lean in to people. And if you feel like you're all alone, let your peer mom, let your mentor mom know that. Lean into them so that they can be there for you and help provide community for you this year. Another interesting fact about lions is that the females do most of the hunting. I guess that kind of makes sense because as wives, I mean, I didn't say it in that list. I just said cook, but we're the ones typically that's going out shopping, that's planning the meals. It's usually going out and getting the ingredients, cooking the meals, all of those kinds of things. So for lions, females do the hunting, but the males eat first. I mean, on first glance, you might say, what? Well, what's up with that? That's just wrong. But ladies, isn't that what motherhood is all about? Sacrifice? We do all these things for other people all day long. It's really true. No wonder Ezekiel compares motherhood to a lion. Another interesting fact about lions, their heels don't touch the ground when they walk. Oh my goodness. I mean, do we have to be on our toes as moms or what? We have to see the playing field. We have to see the big picture. I like sports. I like football, so it's kind of like being a running back. I mean, they can see the playing field and, ooh, there's a hole. Cut this way. Ooh, I got a blocker over there. Cut back. Go that way. I mean, that's kind of what we do as moms, isn't it? For your family, you need to see the big picture. You need to be able to make course corrections. If you see that you're going in one direction and it's not the best, cut back and go another way. You know, there was one more fact about lions that was new to me. And can I just say, please don't let this be said of you. This is one lion fact that doesn't correlate to motherhood, and that's that lions sleep up to 20 hours a day. Now, there may be some of us that wish we could sleep up to 20 hours a day. There may be some of us who could sleep up to 20 hours a day if we had the opportunity. But ladies, obviously, there is no correlation there between a lion sleeping 20 hours a day and motherhood. There the analogy stops. So the other thing in Ezekiel 19 that mothers are likened to is a vine in a vineyard. To me, that's so different because a lion is more along the warrior theme. It's fierce, it's protective, it's powerful, it's strong. A vine in a vineyard to me speaks of calm, of life, of being fruitful and plentiful, of abundance. It just seems to be so opposite of the warrior theme. And I think if we think about it, most of us tend to either naturally be a little bit more like a lion, and others of us tend to be a little bit more like a vine, resting and peaceful, and we can bring that calm to our homes. Ladies, I encourage you to evaluate yourself, know your strengths and your weaknesses, boy, and bring that before the Lord. Let him know how hard this season is for you and that, you know what, I think I do this pretty good, but man, I'm lacking in this. Lord, please help me. I need to bring more peace to my home. You know, that's me. I'm a bit of a charger. I'm a fighter by nature. And there's times that has really been a good thing for my family. I mean, I won't quit. I won't stop. I will do whatever it takes. You tell me I can't do something and I will do it. My dad, motivated by negative motivation. And so for some kids, that would be incredibly damaging. I hate to admit that for me, it worked. I mean, it wasn't a good thing. I don't think that's a good motivator, but for me, it worked because I was going to prove him wrong. I am a fighter. But you know what? Sometimes that means peace is lacking in me, in my spirit, and therefore in my home, because a mom sets the temperature. She's the barometer of the home. So ladies, no, but are you just too peaceful? Is it too easy for you to sit back and relax? And you need to fight for your family, and you need to learn to be strong and to be powerful. I just encourage you, know yourself. Know your strengths and weaknesses and allow the Lord, give him permission in this season of 2020, this incredibly difficult season of motherhood. Let him refine you. Can you make that a positive of 2020? Can you say, Lord, I hate what's going on. It's hard. It's difficult. But I believe you can refine me. I believe that you can bring good out of this terrible season. And so, Lord, I'm going to trust you for that, and I'm giving you permission to do that. Okay, now, ladies, it's going to hurt when he starts to do it, but try hard to remember that that's what it's all about, right? We want to be more like Jesus, and that means allowing God to refine us, to sharpen us, to smooth, and to use sandpaper on our rough edges. So I just want to say, side note, there are some of you now who are in the role of teacher, and that is not a role that you've ever desired to be in. As a matter of fact, that's like the last thing you ever desired to be. Now, some of you, that comes natural for. You've already been homeschooling. It's a desire of your heart, and it works well. But I think that probably tends to be the minority. There's a lot of gals that are really struggling in this season, and for good reason. Things are tough, and now your kids are home all the time. I mean, like all the time. And for moms of infants and toddlers and preschoolers, you're not necessarily a stay-at-home mom, you're a stuck-at-home mom. I mean, like I said, the parks are closed. There's almost nowhere you can go. Again, try to find a friend or at least family if you have them nearby, if not a small community, so that you have some form of outlet. But if you're a mom now who's all of a sudden teacher and it's just not what you've ever wanted to do, like it would be at the top of your list of things that you never wanted to do, I just want to offer you a few words of encouragement and a few suggestions. First of all, though, I heard one mom say that her child said, I sure hope I don't have the same teacher next year. Well, that's not exactly what you needed to hear, is it? And I read that one mom said, is it okay to expel your own child? Like, can I just kick him out? Don't we all feel that way at times? Okay, so here's 7 things to remember. 7, that's kind of a biblical number. So 7 things to remember. 1, ladies, your relationship with your child is the most important thing. Your relationship with your child is number 1, the most important thing. It is more important than their academic success. Is that okay to say? I'm saying it because it's true. Ladies, this year could undermine, it could be the undoing or the icing of the cake in the undoing of a healthy, positive relationship with your child. Many of us, probably most of us, have one child especially that we butt heads with. It's oil and vinegar. I mean, it's just tough. Sometimes they're a mirror of us, and that's hard. But they just rub us the wrong way. If you say sit, they jump. If you say jump, they sit. And it's tough. It's almost impossible. I get that. And I wish I had a magic answer. I'm so sorry. I don't. But I do know that your relationship with your child is most important. So in the midst of trying to teach them this year, don't sacrifice that. Remember the big picture, okay? Remember what's important. Your child and your relationship with your child is first and foremost. Secondly, I just alluded to it, focus on the majors. Let some of the minor things go. Again, is that okay to say? But you know what? You can't do everything well, and you will drown if you try. It's too much. It's too heavy of a burden. So give yourself to let some of the minor things go. You have to figure out what those things are. Don't use it as an excuse to be lazy. Don't use it as an excuse to slack. But if you want to look at it as, okay, no one's child is going to excel in academics this year as well as they would if they were in a regular classroom, or at least few kids will, then my child's not the only one. So I got to choose. I have to pick and choose and let some things go. I've heard one gal say that she's viewing this as a gap year. She's trying to do the most important things, but realizing that she has to let some things go. I think that's a healthy place to be. Number 3, whatever you do, however you set up your schooling, your distance learning, your homeschooling, whatever it might be, it has to be sustainable or you're not going to last. Ladies, this is only the beginning of October, and we don't know how long it's going to last, but possibly for 9 months. So whatever you do, realize that it has to be sustainable. So be creative. Think outside the box. If you just rub heads with one child and it's a clash constantly, he can't learn from you. I mean, you say to do something and it's the absolute opposite that he's going to do. You got to figure something out. Can you afford to hire a tutor possibly one day a week? Can you set up an exchange? Maybe you teach your friend's child who might be in the same grade level, or not teach, but oversee their work, and your friend oversees your child's work. So often they will do better with another adult that's not mom. Just be creative. Think outside the box. Can you enlist extended family? If you have relatives or grandparents, can you ask them if they can help one day a week, maybe with just one child? Be creative. Think outside the box. So first and foremost, your child is most important. Second, and your relationship with your child, I should say. Secondly, focus on the majors. Let some minor things go. And that's because whatever you do, it has to be sustainable. Number 4, set priorities. That kind of goes along with focusing on the majors. Realize that you can't do everything well. But also, in the midst of all of this, as if you don't already have enough to do, know your child and know their bend and know what works for them and what doesn't. Okay, number 5, take advantage of not having the public school constraints. You can begin your day with prayer. You can have a verse of the week or the month. You can memorize it at the dinner table, not during school. You can teach character traits or even the fruit of the Spirit. Ladies, there's 9 months in the school year, right? September's pretty much already gone, but you could do some catch up. There's 9 fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Teach those traits. Their definitions, what they look like, what they mean. Have that be a little elective course. Fruit of the Spirit is found in Galatians 5, verses 22 to 23. Okay, so take advantage of not having the public school constraints. Number 6, set up a system of rewards and consequences. Takes a little bit of effort, but it will be worth it. Catch them doing positive things and then hold them accountable when they don't. I mean, a chip, a poker chip or whatever little token you want to use into a certain jar when they do something good, and take one out when they're not listening, not obeying, not focusing, whatever it might be, and then give them rewards. Have a party, like a class party or whatever. It's worth it to take the time and effort to set up a system of rewards and consequences. And tough love is number 7. Let them experience the consequences of their bad decisions. Instead of nagging, which is going to destroy your relationship with them, they don't do their work. They get a 0 for the day. Ouch. Hopefully that'll begin to matter, and they'll realize that it does matter. So in conclusion, I encourage you to aim high and miss rather than aim low and hit it every time. Ladies, we are called to impact the next generation as moms, and let that begin in your homes today. Be a lion, be a warrior, be a fruitful vine for your family. Be your child's hero. A hero is not someone who never fails. No, a hero is someone who falls but gets back up. A hero keeps going. A hero refuses to quit and tries again and again after falling down or failing because the stakes are just too high. Ladies, that's what being a hero is. That's what being a warrior for your family is. It is someone who won't quit because the stakes are just too high. Ladies, you can do this. And the good news is that we don't do it all alone. Memorize Philippians 4:13. It is short and sweet. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You're not on your own. The Lord is with you. Ladies, you can do this.